you very warmly to this event Talent Boost, which we are hosting together with different partners. And this is actually third time we are organizing. We had last year a bigger event like this one, and then in the springtime a small one. And this is a real pleasure to give an opportunity for networking. I want to thank all the team and our various partners who have been making it possible to gather together and discuss all the important issues what we have. I have been reading the roadmap for creative industries in Finland. It's actually created by our Ministry of Employment. And there is only one real sort of lack in the whole process. Jag försökte att hitta den där roadmappen på svenska och det finns inte. And I tried to find it in English, the roadmap for creative industries in Finland. No English version. I wrote to the contact person in the Ministry of Employment and asked, because I was sure that it's my incapacity to find something in internet. And I wrote that for sure you have this English version and also Swedish version, the other official language of Finland. And there came a one-line reply, I am sorry, it's only in Finnish. And I think that this is something that tells about the challenges of welcoming creative people from any other countries, and even from our west coast in Finland, where we have some communities who are really plainly Swedish speaking. And we have in Finland, we have two universities of applied sciences giving cultural education in Swedish, but we don't have a roadmap in Swedish. We have several programs giving art education and arts management, different cultural educations in English. And our roadmap in creative industries is available only in Finnish. And I think that this is a question of how do we advance and make it possible for our extremely necessary international collaborators and people who have moved here and who want to stay in here, and how do we communicate with all of us so that we have a common language. And I think that this is something we need to make an effort on organizational level. It doesn't help if I am just making an inquiry, but this is a political issue that we need really to address together. And also about language and communication when it comes to actually find your future in any creative industries. I know that we need to become better to be inclusive language-wise, but then also anyone who comes or goes to a foreign culture, I think it's extremely important even to try to make an effort to understand something about the language, because that tells also about the culture. I really want that we could boost our all futures here together, and we have really interesting experts in our panels discussing these issues, and I really want that Heidi will welcome anybody else, the panel here, or is it? Yes. So from my behalf and Uniarts' behalf, all very much welcome. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jana, so much for those entry words. My name is Ellie. I will be the host here this evening, and I hope that you're all ready to fill up your toolbox with amazing tips and tricks on boosting your future in Finland. We will have a series of panels interspersed with discussion, networking, chit-chat time. There's a whole bunch of other little things going on that I hope you've registered for, or maybe there's still space. First, we'll be talking about your future in Finland, and then landing a job, and then navigating the Finnish art scene. But to begin with, I would love to invite all of the first panelists to the stage. Yes, anywhere, maybe. This first panel, we will be showing the different perspectives of how international artists, cultural workers, and students can extend their stay in the country and make a career in Finland. So, in other words, how could I, for example, stay in Finland and make a career here? To introduce our panelists, we have Anu Lampala. Sorry. Nana Salin. Nana Salin is a visionary and open-minded leader with a wealth of experience in the public and private sectors. Currently, she is the director for alternative funding at Aalto University Executive Education and Professional Development. And then we have Ira Voitkova, who is a Helsinki-based theatre director, performer, and dramaturg. Currently, she is a doctoral candidate here at the Theatre Academy. And then we have Nana Salin. I'm so sorry. We have Anu Lampala, who is a pianist, doctor of music, and a researcher. Currently, she is working as the director of the Open Campus here at Uniarts Helsinki, where she develops and leads the teaching activities and continuous vision work of the Open Campus. And finally, we have Sergio Castrillo, who is a multidisciplinary sonic-based artist and researcher focused on experimentalism and improvisation. He works within educational and cultural production sectors. Does the microphone on the end work? So we have two. My first question is for Anu and Nana. May you introduce yourselves and tell a little bit about the Open Campus and Aalto Executive Education. I've never heard of either of these.
Okay, can you hear me now? So, I'm Lampala from Open Campus. Actually, my background is quite a lot from artistic doctoral studies, artistic research, doctoral education. I have been in doctoral school at the Sibelius Academy, so there might be a theme that I can go into a bit during this discussion. But anyway, do you want me to tell about the Open Campus a bit? So, Open Campus is a part of Uniarts that unifies all three academies or different units in this university. It has a special meaning in unifying and also being a window to the outer world. Mostly we concentrate on three things: continuous learning, which is a huge issue at the moment because Ministry of Education is giving money to all universities on this very topic. Continuous learning, lifelong learning. So this is what we kind of organize in Uniarts. Of course, all academies are doing the same thing, but we are in the middle of organizing everything because it's quite a lot of work and interesting. So the second task for Open Campus is about joint studies, and that is about studies that are suitable for students in all three academies from all art genres in Uniarts, which could be, for example, language studies or life skill studies or something else. Quite many different kind of possibilities there, and that is an area that is changing all the time and developing all the time. And then the third focus in Open Campus is about societal study, societal relations. This is something that, of course, everything in Uniarts is somehow connected to the impact of the society in the society. Sometimes it's not very articulated, and sometimes it's more articulated, but we have a certain part also in societal relations. So that's basically about Open Campus.
Okay. My name is Nana Salin and I'm coming from the Aalto University Executive Education and Professional Development. Happy to be here today and thank you for inviting. Aalto EE might not be so familiar to the artist than Aalto University, which is the main owner of the Aalto University Executive Education. My task in the Aalto EE is make financial possibilities to different target groups to join our programs. And in Aalto University, of course, there are plenty of possibilities without a fee joining our Open Campus program. But for the Aalto EE, it's an interesting, I think, possibility also for the creative sector to try something multidisciplinary learning for their career. We educate 7,000 people yearly and we have over 300 programs in our portfolio. We are located here in the city of Helsinki in Runebergkatu 14 to 16. You are warmly welcome to see our spaces over there. Just shortly about who are we targeting, who are the main target groups for the Aalto EE. They are leaders, professionals from the mainly business world, but we are really eager to offer our services to the different areas, also to the creative field, regarding the multidisciplinary task of the Aalto University from the Aalto Arts as well. To my task, I'm not only working with the funding, I'm also working with our programs. And there are a few interesting programs which I recommend you to get familiarized in our websites. One is the Business of Culture program, which is targeted to the leaders in the cultural sector. Then we have a few interesting development programs like Future Entrepreneurship, where we have developed different methods and future programs for the professionals from the art and creative fields. That's something shortly about the Aalto EE. I'm really happy to tell you more and answer your questions. Thanks.
Really nice. So I guess what I got from that, like in summary, they're both places for like learning and continuing to learn and gaining new skills. Yeah, good resources. So Sergio and Vera, may you briefly tell a little bit about yourself and particularly your path to Finland and what you currently do?
All right, thank you. So my path to Finland, I think, was quite long since my family is from Karelia, so I'm sort of a border child, but from the Russian side. And my whole childhood and early years, I've been just coming to Helsinki and to different Finnish cities, you know, just for a weekend. And then I immigrated quite early, first to the US, then I lived in England, then in China, and so on. So I've been kind of a serial immigrant for over 10 years. And then, while I was living in China, I was, through common acquaintances, offered a place at the artist's residency in La Visa. And I didn't know about La Visa, but I went there and it was just the loveliest place. I spent 2 months there working on a project. And through that, I went into Sari residency by Kone Foundation. And then there, I met a researcher who worked here at the Theatre Academy, and they recommended to get in touch. And so I enrolled on a master's program, and I graduated this year from the master's program here, again at the Theatre Academy, and now I'm a doctoral researcher here, and I'm really enjoying being here and doing artistic research, because that's actually kind of a rare thing, to have this opportunity to do artistic research specifically, and not just, you know, PhD in philosophy or sciences.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Sergio Castellón. I was born in Colombia, even though I haven't been living there for over 20 years. So my path to Finland was actually through long bridge from South America all the way to Europe, to Central Europe, and then all the way to Finland. So before Finland, I have spent some time in Sweden, the UK, France, and back in South America between Colombia and Argentina. So I came actually here in 2011, September for the first time. And in 2012, I started as a doctoral student at the Helsinki University at the musicology department. So my idea coming to Finland was actually to come and write my PhD thesis in the musicology department. Before that, I had done a master's degree in composition with electronic music in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and before that, my bachelor's degree was in cello performance. But I am basically a cello performer, and nowadays I finished my PhD in 2019, and alongside that path of doing musicology, research in musicology, I was already doing a lot of things regarding artistic research. Around that time, the topic of artistic research started to be in fashion, trendy in Finland, so I immediately started to get into that sector and working a lot with cultural production, what is called curatorial work. That word is not invented by myself. It's something that I've been asked to do, but I would call it more like cultural and artistic production. So I've been focusing a lot on that as well. And at the moment, I have here my questions. My career looks like, I'm currently lecturer at the Global Music Department, Sibelius Academy, University of the Arts. I started this year. And there we are kind of trying to develop more and more and to boost more the artistic research part of the department, which is a very new department. So we are now trying with a group of colleagues there to boost also the artistic research path in the department. That's good.
Thank you so much. I find this idea of artistic research just like mind-blowing. It's like really, really interesting. And also really interesting all about different paths to how we came here. Really special. My next question is, what opportunities do you see for ongoing training and professional development in the art sector in Finland? So in other words, once somebody graduates or is just in their career, how can they keep on learning?
So, well, for instance, Open Campus offers many possibilities for that. We have been concentrating quite a lot on work-life skills because especially after the pandemic, we understood that the cultural area has been suffering a lot, and it has been difficult for people on that area, and especially in freelance field. So we have been trying to develop that area to help these people, and also this absolute value of art is questioned. So I think artists need to be much stronger and be really strong agents in society in many ways. So there are new skills that are needed, and just in a nutshell, I can tell something about what Open Campus is offering. So we have for instance, Open University, which is in the Open Campus, which is in the Uniarts, if you follow this organizational monster. Anyway, Open Campus is quite big, so we are meeting people from inside Uniarts, but also 2,000 people yearly from outside. So there are hundreds of different kind of studies that are also available in Finnish and in English. So that is something that you might be interested in looking at. So also about these specific studies that we have been developing on the area of lifelong learning, work-life skills, career support and services, also skills on entrepreneurship, which was mentioned earlier. It has been quite a new thing in Uniarts, and during these last couple of years we have been developing this Uniarts Hub, which is like an incubator for business ideas for artists. That has been very successful and interesting, and I find it very important for the institution to offer different kind of approaches for societal relations, and that can be one thing to launch a business. Also, we have specific services for freelance field. At the moment, there are online courses in English, which are free of charge in Open University. Here, Uniarts, one is about artists' creative skills and competence, and another one is about copyright issues, really important stuff. And also next year, there might be very many suitable courses for both in English and in Finnish, and about career issues, and also, which I recommend, this is only for people who have access for, have this Uniarts account, but anyway, it's about, there's a material for self-evaluation, which might be a good thing to do. People usually don't realize how much they know and can do, but it's good to, test it sometimes and continue from that. Just small advertisement, the applications or applying to the Open University in Uniarts starts in November 21st, so help yourself.
Okay, actually my degree is also Master of Arts. I come from the art field, so I've been worked over 20 years in the field of arts, but now I think a little bit more in the side of business, but continuing the side of the education. If I'm thinking personally as a Finnish person here now, that it was a long time I felt that there might not be so many opportunities for the continuous learning in such for the Master of Arts in that sense. But nowadays, when you think and look around, not only these business schools, but also the universities, and if you think a little bit broader from your perspective, that you are coming from the art fields, like Anu said that Uniarts has a business hub. Aalto University has also this business hub. There are plenty of universities who now have this program for boosting your business. But we also, like I said, Aalto EE is really much. We are eager to kind of develop our services to creative fields and the artists as well. Like I said, this Business of Culture program is one very good program, I think, for many. It's for the Nordic and Baltic professionals. But talking about Aalto, I don't work exactly in the Aalto University, but thinking how much life-wide learning puts effort. There are 400 plus courses, programs, and special focus on the professional development in business, art, and technology. So it's a huge opportunity for the creative sector professionals. Aalto puts efforts also in the Talent Boost program. You can find from the Aalto University websites the Finland Works open online course for anyone. So that's one really good opportunity to see widely. But what I'm thinking here, not just only what Aalto EE is offering Aalto University or other universities. What I'm admiring here, hearing Sergio and Vera about how not just the multi-professional, but also how many countries you have gone through, because I think that's the biggest learning you can get getting in different countries and getting opportunities, because I think the most important thing from the creative and the art field is to learn collaborate and see opportunities from the different fields and what I can learn from the others and what can I bring from myself to the others. I think that's the biggest thing to learn, and after that I think it's the easier to maybe search opportunities from the business schools or different fields to learn more and kind of build your capacity as an artist or creative professional.
Oh, you have the same question, like how to... Well, my experience is a bit limited by what I studied, what I'm doing, but I definitely agree with everything that was just said. And when I was choosing what to do next after I finished my master's here, I mean, I was already applying for different PhD placements in different countries, and in England again, in Austria, in Germany, and so on. And I was actually quite successful, so eventually I was faced with this choice of where to go. And I consciously chose Finland, and it was for a number of reasons, and actually was kind of this informed choice after living in a lot of different other countries. And it was, as I said, for different reasons. First of all, I really appreciate that here the artistic research actually means artistic. It doesn't mean you do your artwork on the side and that you write your theoretical dissertation. It's both, and it's very rare, and I research this field a lot, and it's one of a few countries, you can literally count them by fingers on one hand, which does that. And the other thing was that I work a lot abroad, and this program, this doctoral program, allowed me to keep doing that. So I can still do my artistic residencies in other countries, and I can kind of bring that research, like for example, if I go to Germany or Luxembourg, which I'm doing next month, I can bring that research into what's going on here, and it's very much encouraged, and I appreciate that a lot. So for me, it was quite an easy choice to stay here and continue with my education and learning process here. So I would definitely recommend applying if you're thinking about your academic and also artistic career after your other studies.
Yeah, here in the question, just not to lose the track, is how do I see, or what do I see in Finland as ongoing opportunities to continue to develop your artistic path? And I clearly, at this time, I see a lot of opportunities compared to what I saw when I moved here. I think everything has changed radically, exponentially for the better. I think that especially for artists and researchers coming from abroad, I think that nowadays there are more opportunities. Also because, you know, the world is changing and there are more issues on the spotlight, and internationality and multiculturality is something that has been like actually quite important in Finland from my experience over the last years, that I think like when I moved in here, it was rarely seen that people just coming from abroad would have got a Connie grant or Taiki grant or something. Even, you know, like the language nowadays, even though I kind of support the fact that we all should put a little bit of effort on learning Finnish. I think that also for newcomers, knowing that Finnish is not the easiest language in the world, that people that have just come over the last years to Finland have been successful in getting grants, writing the applications in English, which was not the same when I moved in here. It was rarely seen that someone that you know didn't write an application in Finnish got a grant from any of the foundations and funds. So I can see that nowadays there are many opportunities for professionals to continue to develop their artistic paths through foundations, state run funds. And as just my colleagues here mentioned, also artistic research is something that can be a focal point also for new professionals to develop their artistic path. And that was like in a concrete way, I would summarize with the artistic funds from all governmental and also surprisingly a lot of private foundations in here in Finland that support art and research. And also institutions that are now running artistic research projects. And in a more, this was in a more concrete realm, but in a kind of less concrete, I would say that in my experience, every single place is full of opportunities. You know, even though you come from abroad, whatever it is, and it was what happened to me from my own point of view. There have been always, and there will be always, opportunities everywhere, even if we are in crisis or, you know, it's always up to you to find opportunities somewhere underneath the rocks or, you know.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add my thoughts on this question. As an artsy artist, I also think of like library books and YouTube videos and Google as learning resources, and also exchange with other artists, like teaching each other is really valuable. Vera, you already kind of like touched on my next question, but what makes Finland a special prospective country for an international artist or cultural worker among other countries? So what makes people choose Finland over other countries?
I can continue with that. I really like going somewhere like and promote Finland, because I feel like one thing that is a bit underdeveloped here is self-marketing in a way, at least outside. Like people don't know, outside I mean, don't know a lot of good things that are happening here. So yeah, as I mentioned, for me it was quite easy to make that choice. And one of the reasons was what Riti was said about grants actually and the accessibility, which is it's not the most common thing for a foreigner, especially the one who's coming from outside of the EU. Of course you can apply in a lot of countries, but here you actually feel more or less equal in your opportunities to get funding, to get money if your project involves Finnish art scene. So that was very important. But also for me, it was several other reasons. For example, I'm a queer performer and I'm a queer artist. And for me, it's very important how developed queer scene is. And I was surprised in a few other European countries where I expected it to be much more developed, and it wasn't. And here I just found a lot of openness and opportunities in that regard as well. And in English also, because yes, again, as it was said a few times, Finnish is not the easiest language. And when you just come here for the first time, at first it might get overwhelming and it takes you some time to learn the language if you want to stay for a long time, but you are still not isolated. You can get to those places, those art festivals and the queer scene, as I said, with your English language and still perform, you know, and still have those opportunities and still get funding for those opportunities. So it was that kind of openness and acceptance to foreigners, especially outside of the EU, that attracted me to be here, because I kind of felt that this is the place where I can stay for a long time and be fine and be accepted. So yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, because maybe you can have a different perspective from me. Yeah. This is, of course, from my personal perspective. I mean, I'm a big follower of the social security system of Finland, so I think that's a brilliant example, at least for me. And being grown up in South America, I can see big differences between how the funds and everything are allocated to the cultural sector. So I think Finland is amazing in that concern, and especially to me, I think Finland has treated me very well, so I'm more than just grateful. And also there has been a lot of discipline and effort behind that good treatment. So I think that combining that discipline and eagerness to do things with the opportunities that Finland gives to artists to develop their careers is I think is the number one reason why I would say that Finland is a really great place to develop this. And what makes maybe people choose Finland among the UK, the US, to me it was again in a way the social security system and also I think the fact that Finland is a place with not so many people, so I don't feel that competition is there like breathing in your neck all the time, that you need to be extremely competitive. And this is maybe related to the last point of the panel, but being patient is something that I consider very important also. There's no this kind of competition always around you, which makes also maybe the rhythm to be slower, I would say. Maybe the rhythm of things happening maybe slower, and it can be difficult as well to bear and to stay patient for so long. But I think it's it's also about the size of the country, more kind of a practical thing as well. Like the country's not so big, and there are people pay their taxes, so they are kind of mirrored in the cultural sector. And for me, it was shocking to see that you can actually retire as an artist in Finland, that you can have a retirement salary as artist in Finland, that you can apply for housing when you're retired until you die in Finland, that no one can throw you away from that place that you got as a pensioner in Finland as an artist. It was also really difficult for me to believe. I didn't come because of that. I came to do my PhD thesis and that was all. But then I stayed. I've been here 12 years. And so all these reasons kind of made, particularly in my case, see Finland as a prospective country to develop my career. And sooner or later, if you want to really see the results, you would need to learn the language. That's something that once you start getting into the language, you get into the culture, you understand everything better, you understand how is the mechanism, and everything turns. That's my own experience.
Well, how much can you add on these great things? I think it was yesterday we have a new ranking for the European countries, and Finland was the first one in that ranking for thinking that should you move in that country and what does it offer to you. Please get familiarize with that study as well. But firstly, I really like to raise, like Vera and Sergio has already did, and of course Anu, that education and research opportunities, I think they are huge in Finland. But also the funding opportunities, and I think the prospects of studying here and or becoming an art professional as well. And you already mentioned the multilingual environment. I think that's really important. That I think Finland and Finnish people are pretty international in that level. And I really hope it stays, but nowadays still I think we are really safe and inclusive society. We don't see the same safetiness, unfortunately, now in Europe, but I really hope that everything becomes better. But in that way, I like to believe that this is a very good country in that sense to live and study and to grow.
Yeah, very good points, and of course, you are the experts of commenting how is it to come to Finland and what kind of things you meet. and of course I agree with this very high quality in art education, internationally very top quality in many sense. I was in Japan this year for 10 days, and during that trip I was thinking about agency of an artist, because I come from classical music context, and their master-apprentice relationship is very in the core of what we do. So the student needs to hear master to give advice how to play piano, for instance. And we were giving lecture concerts and some presentations on artist research, which was quite new thing in Japan, and also autoethnography. And that was something very strange for them, and they were interested in that approach, which is quite, as you mentioned, it's quite common nowadays in Finland. But that made me think that in Finland we also want to hear, for instance, students' voice. We had protests here a few weeks ago, and we welcomed them, and Rector was giving support to the students, and I think that was a very important gesture, that this is maybe, I would say, non-hierarchical country in many sense compared to others.
Thank you for those answers. I've always had this really intuitive heart feeling about Finland, that it's like, it'll just survive here. So we're coming to our last few questions. Sergio and Vera, can you tell us about your most gratifying moment from your career path in Finland? What made you feel that this was the absolute best idea for you?
Yeah, I saw that question in advance, and I was like, it's very difficult to choose one moment. There are a number of very nice moments. I really enjoyed art residencies, especially the Saari residency. That was a wonderful experience. Recommend to everyone to apply to a Saari residency. But also, I really enjoy all the kind of international initiatives in the arts that happen here. For example, this year in January, there was a New Theatre Helsinki Festival at Svenska Theatre, and I was doing a show there with my colleagues who were also second wave or third wave immigrants from Cuba and from Estonia. And it was really nice that this festival existed. It was really nice to get a lot of audience and a lot of great feedback on those, international performances that were happening there. So that was probably the moment where I feel quite, at home, and I feel like quite seen at that moment there. So yeah, but as I said, pretty much everything that is focused on the development of the international art scene here just gives me joy, and it's very possible to participate in that. So I don't see a lot of gatekeeping, at least in my experience. I'm sure some other people get other type of experience, but in my experience there's not as much gatekeeping as like in some other countries, by which I mean it's quite accessible, and if you have a decent work, you can showcase, like you have this opportunity to present. You don't have to know the organizers or be like a nepotism child or anything. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can also highlight a couple of things regarding this. I could say that my first kind of most amazing achievement was to be able to defend my doctoral thesis. So I had like amazing supervisors on my side and a really good environment. So that was back in 2019. Anyway, all the path to writing and doing my research was kind of enjoyable for me, and ever since I moved here. I also moved in a way here because of the Sweden kind of this legacy of Swedish and Finnish composers that I knew already from Latin America, especially the Finnish ones, Kaija Saariaho, Magnus Lindberg, Esa-Pekka Salonen, who is actually a great composer as well, not only a conductor but also a composer. And this movement of Korvat Auke association of composers, so that was also pretty good that I was accepted to be a member of the Korvatauki society, that my doctoral thesis, and then after that, in a more colloquial way, I can say that I didn't really come to Finland to stay. I came to do my PhD 12 years ago, and I'm here, and this is now my place, my home. And I have developed my adulthood in Finland, actually, 12 years of being an adult, and my professional development has been in Finland as a kind of a Finnish artist in a way. I have actually been representing Finland in some festivals as a kind of Finnish Colombian artist. And you know, then I happened to get a couple of nice grants, a grant from Kone Foundation, a 2-year grant to work on my artistic research without any institutional engagement, just on my own. That was like super amazing thing. And then now I think the biggest achievement is to be able to be a lecturer at the Sibelius Academy in the Global Music Department, where I started to kind of throw my seeds maybe 8 years ago, and those plants have been growing, now that they're becoming trees. So I'm extremely grateful that I'm now developing that kind of career there.
Wow, that's awesome. I have one last question, and then we will have time for audience questions. So, my last question is, what would you recommend to somebody wanting to start this journey of staying in Finland and having a career here? What would be your top tip?
I think it is to be open to collaboration and experimentation, and don't just stay in your area, in arts area, search opportunities from the other fields as well. And since the director of the alternative funding and being responsibility of the University of Arts funding as well before joining in Aalto EE, I would say and recommend understand the funding opportunities as well. You already heard something from the Vera and Sergio, but understand them too.
Well, yeah, learn Finnish, like slowly, like as well, preferably as fast as you can, but learn it. I mean, you can still not just survive, but live pretty comfortably. I've been living here for 3 years, and I'm fine. And I started studying Finnish this summer, and I'm trying to get there. So now my life is getting like better in that sense. So yeah, in general, you would still be able to live here normally, but with Finnish, you have many more opportunities to do that. At least start doing that. And also, integrate. You know, try to get out there more and talk to local people, talk to other immigrants or foreigners here. Just get out there. You know, try to collaborate and learn Finnish. That's it.
Well, come to meet us in Open Campus in Uniarts. You are so welcome. We want to help you in all questions you have concerning our studies, and also at the same about the language, because I think especially when you are adults and try to tolerate yourself that you don't know, you can't speak, you need to tolerate it for a while and then it gets better. But I think that is maybe the important phase. We all have that experience in some language, so I think it's crucial.
Yeah, definitely. I think what I can say also from my own experience is to keep on doing what you do. Really invest a lot of time in what you do. That for me, it's like, and in the cases that I have seen from foreigners living in here for many years, there's always the moment where the wheel turns. So foster patience, water your patience, be patient. That for sure there's a space and a moment for you here. Maybe not at the very beginning, because it's just natural. It's how also nature is, right? At the very beginning, you cannot just hope that you will speak Finnish. No, you need to, and this is kind of an honest thing, like you need to be in Finland for a long time to be able to see results. From my point of view, maybe now, in this, for you, maybe it's been different, but when I came, after only 10 years, I kind of saw that, okay, now I think I'm integrated, I'm in here, I speak the language, and if you manage to, like to get the papers, also this is a complicated subject, but try to apply for the permanent residency as soon as you can, and try to apply also for the citizenship as soon as you can if you feel that you want to have that citizenship. Because it happens many times that your identity turns, and it happened to me as well, that in a way, I feel that part of my identity is also from Helsinki. So I thought that, okay, if I can apply for the citizenship, why not? And it also opens more opportunities to you. But yeah, and learn the language.
Super top tips. All right, audience, now is your time for questions. And do I have somebody to run a microphone? Yes, at the back. So if you have a question, raise your hand up and we'll get a microphone for you to say it. Yes, thank you.
Hi, my name is Marius Manka. I came in Finland in 2005 as an artist in an artist in residence program provided by Saksala Art Radius. It was in Haukivuori, close to Mikkeli. My question is, when I moved to Finland, usually when I was like sick and going to doctor, there was like, you are in Finland like a tourist, so they cannot do anything for you because they couldn't find me in the system. So I want to know how is the situation now for artists? If you have an idea, like.
It was in like 2005, right?
2005, yes.
Yeah, I don't know, you moved here like a long time ago, as far as I understood. For me, it was quite recent. It was very challenging the first half a year while you don't have your national identity number, you don't have your bank. Pretty much, if you don't have your bank account, you have no access to anything. And I was extremely frustrated the first like about 6 months. It took still kind of a long time. To process documents, and I couldn't, it was during COVID, and I couldn't get my vaccine shots, and I was completely isolated. That was not good. But then nowadays, yeah, well, I think it takes about maybe 3-4 months you get your identity number if you're staying here legally, at least if you have student status, even if it's master's, like you don't have to be doctoral or employed, like at least if you're a student. You get your ID, then you get your bank account with your ID, and then you can register to anything, and you can get Kela, and then you can get all the help, pretty much.
So if you are like an independent artist, I mean not a student, can you be in the system?
Depends on, yeah, see, that depends on your status. I checked that a lot. And I think nowadays there are lots of different categories of visa and residence permits. And I think even if you're not a student, there are still ways to get there, but I don't want to kind of like mislead you, so I'm not sure. But I think it's easier now because last time I checked, there were like over 10 different types of those permits. So it might be like freelance artist thing there as well, but it might be, I'm not sure.
Thank you.
Just to comment on that a little bit, that's a crucial question, and I just think that there are things that actually go beyond us and they get out of our hands also as artists, and it's something that I think it's important that you pointed out because it's something that maybe the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or immigration office should be taken care of, because I still see a lot of people struggling with what you said, like even students. We got some students from the Global Music Department struggling by getting their bank accounts open and getting the grants but not being able to get the money from the grant that they have got, because they need to open a Finnish bank account. But before you open the Finnish bank account, you need to have a social security number. But then, then they cannot travel from their countries to here. But once all that bureaucracy and difficulty in the beginning is solved, I think we can always get into track. Because for me, it was not easy either. It was very difficult as well, but you need to be perseverant, I guess, and patient.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, I was wondering when Sergio mentioned that have patience. What would you have done if your efforts to integrate yourself in the society has been nothing but rejection, and your social networking efforts have stayed shallow, you couldn't develop your career in this country for, let's say, 9 years? When your patience run out, what would you have done in that kind of situation? Would you still keep hoping that you will get to where you want to be in your career, in your life, or would you have just left?
That's a great question. I think we have all been in that moment in our lives in general where we just don't have hope anymore. And it happened to me, actually, to be honest with you. I want to be honest with my answer. Yeah, I experienced many of those moments where I thought like, okay, maybe my work is not appreciated in here. And yeah, I was many times thinking about leaving, going somewhere else, knocking on other doors, asking around. But there was no other option in that moment, and I just felt like, okay, I just need to keep on. But that's also, it was a personal decision. And I'm a perseverant person, and resilient, maybe because of my Colombian background, that you have to struggle so much there when you are young and your family, in a country in war for many years. So in a way, you kind of develop this resiliency. But yeah, I think I decided to stay, and now after these 12 years, I think it was the right thing for me to stay. That great things were coming my way, So I would say, like, I would always recommend to just try to be a little bit more patient than you think you are, and there in that unknown area and painful area, you can find something, and there will be something coming for you. That's just from my own experience.
Can I get a round of applause for our panelists? So, we are going to be talking about landing a job in Finland. The focus of this panel is to discuss the certainties, difficulties, and experiences from how to land a job in Finland, and what multicultural capacities our students must strengthen during this process. In other words, what is it like landing a job in Finland, and what skills do students need to strengthen during this process? My apologies if I get names wrong, I will do my best. So we have Priyanka Banerjee. Priyanka Banerjee is a DEI, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion consultant who has helped hundreds of company leaders on their DEI journey over the past 6+ years. Priyanka has been actively supporting international talents in finding their path in Finland. And then we have Paula Nieto, who is a cultural manager, performing artist, co-artist director of Kanalisti, and a board member of Taku. She is a graduate from Sibelius Academy's Arts Management program. And then we have Maruf Majidi, who is an Iranian-Finnish composer and musician whose songs travel from Kurdish scenes to Arabic and Scandinavian atmospheres. Maruf's collaboration works varies from traditional to avant-garde art forms, and he has been working with musicians and dancers across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then we have Laura Mulitovic, who is a MA art historian from Serbia and a student of the Art Management Master's Program at the Sibelius Academy. Her biggest interest is audience engagement, and she has presented TED Talks on Spotify. And then we have Viven Abegaz, who is an integration coordinator at Lukan Helsingfors. She has over 9 years of experience in a third sector. Viven provides one-on-one guidance and counseling and facilitates biannual peer support groups for international job seekers. Viven is also a vice chairperson of Think Africa. So let's first start off, we'll do like a little round and just tell briefly about yourself and how you have built a career in Finland. Maybe we can start from you.
Hello everyone. My name is Maruf Majidi. I'm a composer and musician. My background is in, my mother is a lament singer, so lamentation and traditional singing is where I'm coming from. Well, I moved to Finland about 20 years ago, and it's been a very interesting journey. As many of you might know and might experience, it's a bit different culture. So Finland is not as diverse as many countries, for example, in Central Europe. But in other ways, there's lots of happening here all the time. Things happening, and they are very open-minded, especially in the Helsinki and this area. So you can achieve many things, but there is challenges. I'm sure we will talk about it.
And Priyanka, how have you built your career in Finland?
Yes, thank you. Hello, everyone. Really nice to be here today. So yeah, I'm originally from India. I have been in Finland for about 7 years now, and I was working actually in the tech industry, and I'm an engineer by profession. And working in the tech industry in the Nordics made me realize how much we lack an understanding of inclusive spaces and working with people from different backgrounds. So having this journey led me to find my passion in entrepreneurship and also creating more inclusive and diverse spaces for people from different backgrounds. That's how I changed my career from tech to DEI, which is standing for diversity, equity, inclusion, which is a lot of social science and humanitarian work, but in a very strategic company way that we do it with the organizations. And yeah, and now I'm here. So it has been a roller coaster journey of finding where I am now today. I'll hand it over to you then, Viven.
Yeah, hey everyone. I moved to Finland to study my master's degree at the University of Helsinki, but at the same time also to join my husband who was here prior to me. And and then I had also a maternity leave break, a career break, many of you might have at some point as well. And then after that, I start to kind of like, okay, say, hey, what do I need to do now? Now that I have Finnish language skills, now that I have also like long career as a development professional from Ethiopia, I'm originally from Ethiopia. So then I needed to do my own kind of like ikigai kind of circle, try to find where to network, how to network, and things like that. So I started out as first kind of understanding my skill set, whether it's relevant to the Finnish market or not, and then also kind of doing a bit of like, okay, who are the main actors within the development sector that I want to work for. And I think through volunteerism, a bit of upskilling, I was able to kind of land the job that I really want to do. Yes, over to you.
Hello everyone. Well, I am originally from Mexico City, and I moved to Finland around 6 years ago to pursue my master's studies in arts management in the Swedish Academy. And about building my career in Finland, well, I think that building a career in Finland takes a lot of time. And honestly, like time is it's a very privilege. There's privilege when having time. And I would say that I was privileged enough to be for over 4 years studying, like being in the university, and then having the opportunity to little by little build up networks, like professional networks and experience. During my studies, I started connecting with my community within the university, and little by little, taking advantage of the opportunities, like working opportunities that the university itself offered, but also the opportunities offered from my own colleagues who, like most of them Finnish, who already had professional networks, so they were the ones who were connecting me to other organizations. So that's how I started to get to know and involve myself, but also show my abilities and skills while working in these kind of situations.
Thank you. Hello everyone. I'm happy to see that in the audience as well there are some students, or perhaps those that are considering applying for the university. As Elle said, I'm still studying at this university at the Master's Program for Art Management. And I've been in Finland for just over 1.5 years. So what I'm speaking comes from my experience and comes from starting to build your career in Finland. So I hope that everything that I will be saying today will especially be relevant for those who are studying or who are considering to study. But yeah, so far I'm really happy that I'm in a panel with people who've been here longer, who are far more experienced. So I think that it will be a good mix of insights today.
That's like one more microphone, yeah. Thank you for those intros. My next question, from your experiences, how can people with different backgrounds effectively network and build professional relationships around Finland and or within the arts community?
Well, I can tell about my experience. So I think, as also one of the friends mentioned here, knowing the circles is very important, because we're talking about the very small circles, the connections, everything is very minimized here. So there is not many job opportunities. There is, if you think, for example, I'm coming from a music field, so there is lots of people who coming every year from universities. There's at least in Helsinki we have 3 huge faculties where they take music students, but if you look at the job opportunities for them, unless they're going to teach, it's very difficult. But maybe the most important is to find the right connections. Who are your connections and what are your communities? If you're coming from outside, so finding the people who are speaking the same language, same NGOs, there's lots of NGOs, there's lots of organizations working with the foreigners, foreign artists here. And language, it's unfortunately still is a big barrier here. Finnish people do very well English language, but still to get into the communities you need that. You need a little bit of Finnish language to get there. So those are a bit important.
Yeah, I think I'm from a tech background and I'm sitting here today in Uniarts, Helsinki. So I think my takeaway would be to not put yourself in a bubble I have seen myself doing it when I came here, that I only met people from my industry, and it kind of like doesn't enable you to find the different opportunities that you have. So this is one of the reasons that I am here today, because I know people from this industry as well, and I think that would be my like advice, that go out and also find people in different industries, because it kind of enables you to think a bit different about what you can do, what are the different best practices in different industries, how can we work together. And then definitely, you know, it's a two-way street. So everyone here who have been in Finland and has a community or a network, please be open to share it with others. And for the one who is networking, being open to asking for help. For me, that was one of the biggest challenges, to go and ask. But when I started doing it, it became much more easier to have this more authentic conversation connection, rather than having a transactional that I need to network because I want something, kind of a thought process. Yeah, maybe I can add on that. Yeah, I want to say that the way that the working market in Finland works is it's basically through connections. If you see, like, most of the open positions are not open but hidden, and it's been through recommendations when people normally get a job. So that's the importance then of building professional networks. And I also add this thing about trust, because I feel like that Finnish organizations also need to see the way you work in order to give you working opportunities. So it's a matter of, like, well, yeah, how do you demonstrate your abilities if you don't have the working or the networks or the proper networks to access to these opportunities. In my case, I also agree of, like, trying to be as open as possible, but also like attend to these circles that are closer, maybe like in the very initial steps of your career, when you just land, like, arrive to Finland. At least personally, I started getting in contact with organizations that felt really close to me and to my values. For instance, I look help from the Latin American community, from the embassies as well. But also there are many organizations or working unions that can provide help in connecting with others.
Yeah, I think that I would say it's important to notice the differences, because there are really significant cultural differences in the working culture, at least between my country and Finland. And I think that it's important to notice that, say, okay, I work in a different way, they don't understand that, but I can understand how people work here because I'm living here. And then say, okay, those differences exist, and what can I do about them? So the jobs that I've been lucky enough to have since coming to Finland are mostly ones that I created, so to speak. So I had an idea and I said, okay, my culture is that I'm very proactive with my ideas, I come forward, I present them. And Finnish culture is such that if there is a good idea, there can be people who will help and who will see the value if you present it well. So I kind of try to merge my culture and my values with the space in order to make something that works for both. So yeah, I think it's really important to notice that, but do not let yourself be dragged by it and say, oh, well, I'm not going to change and they're not going to change, but try to find, like, a good synergy between the both.
I just want to add here also that you don't need to do it by yourself. And there are quite a lot of associations, a lot of programs, a lot of events there to support you in landing your job or even understanding the Finnish market, or like how to network, which one is relevant to your case, because it's quite diverse and quite different for different people. I think make the best out of those services because they are free and they also want participants, they also want clients, so it's also like a two-way street in that sense.
Awesome tips. Thank you so much. The next thing to wait, where did it go? Yes. This next topic is really interesting to me. A really hot topic: language and the Finnish language, or maybe even other languages as well. From your experiences, what role has language played in your career in Finland?
Well, my experience is definitely, it is very significant. The language is very important. I started to study Finnish folk music, so it was very important for me to know the language, to be able to get into the culture and to understand where the roots of the music. But other than that, what I have also realized, and I mentioned in a previous question also, that it is kind of a closed society. Well, I have colleagues here that they've been here for 20 years, they have their own career, and they don't speak Finnish. It is possible. But you will miss some stuff. That's just the reality here in this society. Especially if you're going outside of Helsinki, you realize that more, that how important Finnish language is to make that connections. Even though Finnish people do speak a very good English, and it's easy. And well, nowadays there's a huge Spanish communities here, so even you can survive with that. There is also a big Turkish communities in Finland. So that it is possible to do the career without speaking the Finnish language. But my experience is that, you need to, if you really want to stay here or build your future here in a certain way, you need to grab that language.
Well, resonating to that, of course, I'm not going to sugarcoat and say that it's not an issue. It is an issue, definitely. Not knowing the language puts you at a disadvantaged position. But I would also say that it is not impossible. Of course, in certain industries and in certain roles, it differs. For example, if you're in a customer service, sales kind of a place where you're serving people who need to, or in healthcare where you need to speak, then of course it's a different thing. But there are options and roles where you don't need, and from my work, actually, we are challenging that status quo with the companies all the time. And I think that has been my experience. I have been very privileged to have allies who have helped me, for example, in building a company when I did not know how to do it because of the language, or finding allies who were championing for me that, hey, this event is in Finnish, but you need to have Priyanka as a speaker. And there have been events that have made the exception and had just one keynote, for example, in English. So there has been I would say that we are challenging it, it's our job to challenge, but then of course, if you know the language, it will make your lives easier. I am trying very hard. I still do not speak fluently Finnish to be able to do my job, but I have really good colleagues who help me, and we are also now trying out different models where we do, for example, workshop facilitations bilingually. So we use a Finnish and English both. So we're trying to test out different models on how we can make it easier for companies to also include more English-speaking people.
I don't know if you have seen around the internet or social media world this
meme with an image of Sofia Vergara saying like, you don't know how intelligent I am when I speak Spanish. So I kind of relate to that when living in Finland and trying to speak Finnish or even English, I must confess. But yeah, language definitely plays a significant role yeah, it plays a significant role, but it shouldn't. It shouldn't play. I think that a big part of the positions that are offered in the job market are normally, yeah, marketed with like we require excellent Finnish skills or native Finnish skills. Sometimes I've seen,
And that's actually illegal.
yeah, it is, but I have seen still. So in this way, language ends up being a barrier and an accessibility barrier actually. Then it reduces then the opportunities for people who we are still not like we are not still managing to speak fluently Finnish. It reduces the opportunities. Um, for example, like if I go back through all my working experience here in Finland, most of the yeah, basically all the jobs and positions that I've held, I've been using English. I've been privileged of that, but it's because also these organizations already have this international element. So of course they already know how to deal and manage with working with people who doesn't speak the language or who are speaking different languages. So yeah, I think that also organizations should learn ways of meeting halfway in terms of language, because there is a way. Like I have worked in these organizations and I have collaborated with like Finnish speaking people, and it is possible. But then we need to be more open in the practices of the organizations. Also, I think that language also becomes a problem when there is a lack of work-life resources in English, or when these resources are not informed in the challenges of international people. So, yeah, that's
Yeah, I think like as someone who's an art historian, languages I see it like as a gateway to the culture, not only the contemporary culture, but as the past culture as well. And as Paula said, not all jobs are advertised, or when they are, that means that probably already someone has got the job. So within your networks, I think there we have more possibility to show, okay, it's impossible for me to learn Finnish in like even 5 years perfectly, but I'm trying. Like I'm going on courses, I'm learning a bit, I want to integrate into the culture more and more, and that I think demonstrates enthusiasm to your networks and to your acquaintances that may be more likely to work with you in English or to help you through another language rather than those ads which say native Finnish, and it's profoundly discouraging when you go to so many job sites and you see like a perfect ad for the job, and you're like, yeah, that's me, requires fluent Finnish. It's heartbreaking, it really is, but that's like how the networks can be used to show your enthusiasm, even though you can't show good or perfect Finnish.
Just to add on here, also language is a tool for me. It was really important for me to kind of understand how the integration worked, because you really need either like Finland is a bilingual country, so I need to either have Finnish or Swedish in order to kind of work within the field. And it's sector specific. I agree with Priyanka as well. But then it's not also impossible to learn and master, and not all roles require that you are quite fluent in either of the languages as well. And again, I think it's maybe because of my profession, but I feel like I want to share this with you also, that there are quite a lot of free resources, again, language cafes where you can support yourself in that process of learning, maybe online courses, online apps, and then mentorship programs which are like have language at the core. So don't feel discouraged. For some people, Finnish is not the hardest language ever. I know that we've been, like, at least within my circle, people talk about the difficulty to kind of learn Finnish or use Finnish in a professional kind of setting, but then there are people who are able to do it. And when Finnish becomes very difficult, and then if your sector allows, for example, Swedish, that's also another path. So try to also use it from different angles. And then for me as a parent also, I see the need for language. So language for me is a tool, and it helps to kind of open up many opportunities.
I just want to add something to the aspect. I think there is this myth that the Finnish language is a very difficult language, but I think it is very different language. That the languages that we are usually, for example, with the Indo-European languages, is not similar to any of them. So it makes it feel like it is very difficult. I think it is not as difficult, it is very different. And it needs a certain also different approach to that. Well, and then with that different approach and different angles to understand it, you certainly find a very easy way also to understand it. And certainly you don't need to be fluent at it. If you can just communicate, that will be a huge thing.
Super good. And I just wanted to add a word of encouragement to everybody learning any language. You can do it. Like, you can do it. And learning language is like so good for the brain. And yeah, just make it fun, and we've got this. My next question, from your experiences, how can people with different backgrounds, wait, I've said this one before, sorry. Okay. How can our students, staff, and cultural workers use their multicultural backgrounds and abilities as an advantage in their careers and job search?
I can start. I can say from my own experience, for me, I'm a, how do I say, extroverted introvert person. So when I need to be with people, I'm very open and I mingle and I'm very extroverted, but then I need my own calm and space. So I think for me, it was really important to communicate my story and what am I offering, or what is the thing that I would like to help with. And when I came here, it was a very random incident. I came with less than 24-hour notice to Finland, so I literally did not know anybody in here. And when I moved from the tech industry, or like was in the process, I was like, how do I share it with people, that why am I talking about this? And for me, it was just going to different events and asking them, hey, do you have like a 5-10 minute slot where I can share about why do we need to create these inclusive spaces and about cultural diversity? And some of them said like, no, who are you? Why? What's this topic? But then some of them were really interested and gave me the spot to be on stages. And I think that started creating clarity in my own mind, that what is that I want to share. But it also like made people know me, about my story, about what I offer. And I think one of my first clients came from one of these random free talk events I was speaking at, there were, I think, only 10 people, and one of them person came later on and told me, hey Priyanka, you were talking about this, do you want to work for our company, providing this as a talk? And I'm like, yeah, let me come back to you, because I didn't have a company at that point. So then I went and registered my company, and that was my first client. So I would say that sharing, telling people what are you looking for is really important, and it could be difficult because in many cultures, including mine, asking for help is not that common. People just give you help. And in here, I realized that I have to share, I have to talk, I need to tell people what is that I want to share. So I think that is one of the things, because we all have unique experiences as multicultural backgrounds. We bring in things that people here don't have, but how do we share it in a way that, why is it essential for you? How is it going to be beneficial for you? How can I support you in solving the problems that you have? I think that creates the idea in the people's mind that, okay, this is something different that we don't have and we need. And like you were saying, in many cases, they don't even know that they need it. So you kind of create the job, like in the DEI industry 6 years ago, there was no DEI industry. So we are like literally creating the industry as we work on it. So it could be something totally new that you tumble upon and work towards. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe connected to the idea of sharing. I think it's important that we all speak about our challenges, that we share how we have managed to go through those challenges, to speak about yeah, like all the difficulties, and also be transparent and open. Also sharing about good practices of like how our organizations work, how do we deal with this in these positions and so on. So I think, yeah, basically sharing and speaking about our challenges and the good practices is important, you know, also in order to create like a supportive community.
Yeah, just a brief notice for me. I think it's important to be proud of who you are, not in an arrogant way, but in a humbling way, to constantly like connect with yourself. Okay, yes, I'm a foreigner and I'm in this country, and people may have prejudices about my country or my origin or whatever, but I think it's important to stay with yourself and also to be in solidarity with every single person who's not from Finland but is living in Finland, because that's something that I think can like really create unity, and again like highlighting those universal principles, problem-solving principles that work and that are common, and that you can just present to a different culture to solve a common problem, I think is really good. So more like harboring that multicultural, different origin, than just like focusing, oh, I don't know, like when I say I'm from this country, oh, what are people gonna think? And that just like clouds the opinion, and I think it obstructs ideas. So just focus on your position and be an ally to every other person that's in the same boat.
Well, just quickly, I think in the field of art, you need that certain positive selfishness to tell your own story. It doesn't matter if you're a photographer, a visual artist, dancer, musician, or in the cultural work in general. So you really need to dig deep in your roots, whatever is your roots, where you're coming from. And then from there you will find whatever is yours. Because what's beautiful in the art is actually basically everything has told already. There is no any new stories. What is interesting is your own story, is my story. So, and how I'm going to do, how I'm going to tell that, and who are my allies, who are the people that I'm going to work with them. So this search of telling your own story as finding, and also finding the other stories who are contradicting or similar to your stories, I think this is the ongoing story and a beautiful one for artists. And that's what also makes it in a way easy for the people who are working in a field of art to have that eagerness telling what's their own, and that will also attract others.
For me, again, agree with what was said here, that also your languages, your native language is your superpower, and we need also stories from your home country and in your own language. We have, for example, this language testing at Lukan, where we try to test different languages. And I see, like, this past 14 years in Finland, I have seen the progress that Priyanka mentioned. Things are now opening up. People are quite open to kind of learn. They are curious to know about you, to know about your languages. So that could be one tool to also utilize your own skill sets, your own native language, and then trying to market it so that it's relevant to the Finnish society as well.
Really good tips. I have one question left, but I noticed we're short on time, so I actually wanted to do a check. If anybody has a question, ask it. Or raise your hand and then the mic will come. Okay, I will ask my last question then. Little last round. What piece of advice would you give a newcomer or a emerging artist trying to land a job in Finland?
For me, I think the first thing works with you, like try to kind of know yourself, know your skill set, what you can offer. First, do some sort of like self-awareness. And then again, like market awareness. Market awareness, I want to really highlight that who are the main actors that you want to interact with, that you want to work for, that you want to really like add a value to. Have a list of those. And then try to also use resources to kind of like combine self-awareness and then market awareness and then make it work for you. So when I organize this peer support group, we always talk about the career planning. So you don't need to have a perfect plan, but try to have a plan that kind of combine all these resources, like your skill set, the Finnish market, and then the main actors, and then how you can combine them, including the language as well, so that you won't be in a position to look for a job like now, I need it now, but then you can see how long it might take you. It might take you shorter or longer, but it's a journey in Finland, and then it depends on your individual journey. It might be shorter for some, longer for other, but definitely with the right mindset and then the plan, you will reach there.
Yeah, well, I think after, again, 1.5 years of experience, the things that I would advise anyone who is planning to get themselves in the same situation is, number one, look for what works. Don't let yourself be dragged by what doesn't work unless you want to critically and proactively engage in it and say, okay, this doesn't work, what can we do about it? So say, okay, this doesn't work, moving on, I don't have time, there's so many opportunities here, let me see what works. That's something that really helped me. And then the next thing that helped me, which I started to really work on now that I'm in my second year, is get to know the town in every single way. Get to know the places, the people, the sites where people are gathering, when they are gathering, why they are gathering, and try to like walk around the town, because I know when you come here it's easy. At the end of the day, wherever you're living, you're in the same places constantly, especially when you move, you can feel vulnerable and then you want to protect yourself in the same place. But I think it's really helpful to go see different parts of the
down and map yourself. Find yourself a place in the city. Be like, yeah, I am here. I'm not just a tourist that missed the flight home. I am here and I can do so much and I want to map myself. So show up and just try to be consistent, and with that consistency you will learn more every day. So that's my advice.
Yeah, and I would resonate definitely with you with the experiment part, because that has been what I really would recommend and has helped me during the first 2 years that I was here experimenting with what do I want to do. And I would never ever have thought in my life that entrepreneurship would be something that I would do. Like, there is nobody in my family who is an entrepreneur. So definitely experimentation clarifies in your own head what we want. And then definitely creating a tribe for yourself, like having good, great allies really help. When I was looking for this network 6-7 years ago, it did not exist, and we founded in the founding board of International Working Women of Finland. It's an NGO, if some of you know. I was in the founding board. We were a few of us, and in the last 4 years, we are over 9,000 members. And that community really helped me building that community and also being a part of it, because it gave me so good allies who would support me in the journey that I have had here. And then recently finding the allies also in my business. So being an entrepreneur, finding the people who would introduce me to the new clients. And now we merged with another company. We are now a team of 9 people. And this was also because you could experiment and then find the people who really share the same values with you, want to create the same change and impact in the society. So like you said, you don't have to do it by yourself. Find the people, and then lastly, be open to change, because for me it was so many different things after coming here, being an entrepreneur, and then moving, merging it with some other company or starting an NGO. I would never think that I would do all those things, but having just an open mind, expand your brain and expand your networks, it helped me. It helped me also ground to myself and say that I deserve better. I will trust in myself, and then I will just see what happens. So then let the universe decide for you.
Yeah, I can also relate with the idea of trusting yourself. Actually, what I wrote here is like, for me, what has worked is to find ways of valuing my experience and my expertise, because it's so easy to forget this in the process. Like, there are so many challenges that we tend to forget our value. So it's always good to have this time of remembering and reminding us, like, what is the actual value in my experience and the expertise that I already have since even before arriving to Finland, and that it's worth it and that can be used here. So yeah, reminding always and finding ways of reminding that.
Well, I have 3 things in my mind that I think is worth sharing. One is do not understand Finnish people wrong. So Finnish people might give you there's a different body language, the way how they behave. If you will, the way how they relate to the questions, the way how they get excited about things. It might be very different from the language or from the culture where you're coming from. Understand that. And second, do not push unnecessary pushes. You need to know when is the time to push. Do not make yourself exhausted. There is times you need to really go for something. There is time when you work, especially with Finnish people in Finnish environment, you need to just chill. You need to wait for the right moment, for the right people, the right time to talk, present things. These people have a different way. It's been a forest. Here it's not it's not like a Catholic countries. There's many different things here that you really need to understand when you live with these people, when you work with them, that how the things are. And the third thing is, do not get into this negativity of, Finnish language is difficult, winter is dark, it is cold, this is very common things between foreigners also here. It's a way to relate with foreigners, I'm tired of this country, when we live here, it's very long, these people, they never laugh, and, do not get in that trap.
Yeah, did we miss somebody? No, that was it. Yes, do we have space for one question? I think time is up, but good thing that we have this networking session now, so then you will be able to ask the people around you and ask over at the booths and ask our panelists. I'm sure they'll be around. Also grab some more coffee. And then we will be back here in half an hour at 3:45 for our last panel of the day about navigating the Finnish art scene. So I hope to see you all there, and a big round of applause for this discussion and panelists.
I'm Suzanne. Nice to meet you. Sorry? Hang on. Where are you from? Hi, Ella.
So, we are going to start discussing the different points of view of how you can immerse yourself in the current and future trends in the arts of Finland. To introduce our panelists, first we have Tina Jeranko, who is a performance artist from Slovenia. Her interest engages with voice and its concept through the field of translation between thought, verbal language, emotional language, and physical language. I've seen one of her performances and it was amazing. And then we have Salla Valios from Live Music and Urban Culture. Salla has worked as venue and festival producer, managing director of an advocacy organization, Live Fin, and as Helsinki's first night liaison. At the moment, they are finalizing the art management master's program. And then we have Suzanne Mooney, who is a visual artist working with photography, moving image, and found materials, and a lecturer at the Academy of Fine Arts, where she focuses on courses related to professional practice, art in society, internships, and public art. She is also my hero because she is so amazing. And then we have Luis Beijiro, who is a coach and art educator with a background in architecture and with the spirit of an athlete. His purpose is to help people explore their full potential, either on a personal or organizational level. Luis has studied coaching and has a one-person company called Metacomics. So, my first question is, tell us about how navigating the art scene has been for you, and what were your alternatives and possibilities to connect within the community? And there's one more mic on the other side.
Hello everyone, and thank you for the introduction. So the question was how was the beginning, or how do I navigate the Finnish arts? Well, first of all, I guess my departure is Theatre Academy, because I came here to Finland, or to Helsinki specifically for the Live Art and Performance Studies Master's Program. And I am now writing my thesis. So it's been 2 years ago, 2021, I arrived in August. And mostly, well, firstly, I guess, my proximity would be my colleagues in Live Art and Performance Studies program.
although we all came here fresh, we share open calls. We share the information that we gather, like how we research online, and then everyone has their own contacts, and then somehow this is then shared among us, also through a WhatsApp chat we have group. So that's quite busy, that chat. Then, yes, within the program itself, I remember at the very beginning in September 2021, it was organized within the program. We went to visit GAP, Globe Art Point, and then we went to visit also the Museum of Impossible Forms in Kontula. So that's how we came across organizations that are working here in Helsinki in relation to art, and that also organize events, exhibitions, talks, seminars, and help out with, for example, taxes. So it was very helpful to have that already in the program itself. I didn't have to do the extra work outside of that, even though that happens then throughout living in Helsinki. You want to get to know people, and I know, okay, which kind of locations and maybe tones of the art scene I like and where would I like to go to. So then I go in that direction, and then it also depends how responsive the organizations themselves are and ready to help. And I think there also has to be some sort of chemistry. And then mentors within the live art and performance studies program were also very helpful. I had Nora Rinne, Freja Beckman, Justus Kantakoski, I skipped one, Karolina Kucia, and the head of the department, Tero Nauha. They've been all very helpful and have been giving out information on grants also. That's how I came across, for example, the Arts Promotion Center, Taike. And then I was also quite, how I came here in the first place to Helsinki is through a friend of mine, Emma Johansson, who I met in The Hague in the Netherlands, where I studied before. I did Bachelor in Fine Arts, and she told me about this program. So once I came here to Helsinki, since she lives here now, I already had a person who was in the scene, and that made it much easier for me to navigate through and learn about where to turn to. And Hanna Ias as well. We all three of us studied together in Hague, and that's in that sense, it was easier for me to navigate. I don't know how it would be if I would move somewhere where I would be completely fresh, not knowing anyone, like it happened when I went to The Hague in the Netherlands almost 10 years ago. Yeah, it's very, very challenging. So it's really nice to have someone you can trust, and they are already partially in the scene. I will stop talking.
Well, yeah, hi. My name is Salla Wallis, and my background is a bit different than my peer panelists here. I'm originally from Finland, so that's why the history is a bit different. But of course, we all have been in the position that we enter the scene or industry. And I have also lived abroad, so I can maybe identify to the feeling of starting from the scratch. But my background is in the live music scene. I worked as a venue producer and also with festivals and music events, and then to the culture advocacy. And nowadays I kind of my heart beats for the music, but I love cross-disciplinary arts, and I've been privilege to be able to take part, for example, to live art associations and boards and these kind of things. But I think for me, what has worked pretty well has been internships, that you can take part and kind of like find different perspectives. And also, I love organizations and associations. I'm not an artist, but I have been playing as a DJ in a feminist collective called Mekka Klubi, so a period club. But as said, I'm not an artist, but I call that management is my art. So I love some kind of structures, not maybe really fixed ones, but I've worked in several art associations and board activities, and there I've been able to get new perspectives, new networks, and new collaborators. So, for example, these kind of things.
Hi, I'm Suzanne, and I would say my first response to how have I navigated the Finnish art scene is to declare that I don't think I have. I'm very much based in Helsinki, and I don't think I know much more about the rest of Finland. And it's a wonderful and large and a great ecosystem of creative activities that happen here in the capital. But for me, when I was moving, I kind of gravitated towards the Nordic and Baltic region. So I think I know more about Tallinn and Riga and maybe Gothenburg and some other activities happening in this kind of geographical kind of context. I was really excited to move to this part of the world because it just opened up a different kind of area and art scenes that I hadn't experienced before. But really, I've been very remiss to move outside of Helsinki so much, and so I don't know the Finnish art scene. I know the Helsinki art scene. I'm a visual artist, and so my interests were initially about how does it kind of function here? How do you get your work shown, or where can you kind of, what are the kind of supports and the kind of outings for your art practice? And it's quite unusual here in that there are lots of small little spaces and then some huge museum-sized spaces and not so much in the middle points. There's also a ton of open calls where all the programming of a space is done through these kind of moments in the calendar where you apply with your ideas. And I don't think I've done more applications in the 5 years that I've been here because it's just so actively looking for grants, looking for commissions, looking for possibilities to exhibit. And it's really exhausting, that kind of cycle. It feels a little bit out of your power or control, and sometimes I like to kind of exit it and do a different kind of strategy. In terms of navigating initially, I think I gravitated towards other people not from Finland and the international scene. You just tend to be more open to friendships and dialogues when you're not from the place with other people who are also in that similar position. And word of mouth and friendships that produce were the most valuable, I have to say. To add to some organizations that were already met, Global Point was a really useful, their website with navigating and how to survive as an artist was very key at the beginning. And I think Nordic Culture Point as well for me, and recognizing the mobility that can happen between the Nordic countries is really very well funded, and so possibilities of making exchanges between those countries and networks as well. Oh, you've got a choice.
Well, hi everyone, my name is Luis, I am from Peru. About navigating the art scene, well, I have a psychologist, so he first helped me to navigate myself, and then after that I can navigate professional stuff. So that could be my short answer. But just to let you know what I do, like quick introduction. So I studied at the university, graduated with a master's, and I investigated how to use comics for education. Then I studied another course about coaching, and then I applied that in my one-person company as a freelancer, using comics for coaching people and organizations. So that's kind of the idea of using art and coaching. So I kind of use art as a tool for goal setting and personal development and all the topics. And about the scene in general, well, I use my network first from the university. So it's being at the university, then there are entrepreneurship societies from Haga, Helia, then other organizations like Lower Art Point, Startup Refugees, what's this one? Entrepreneurs of Finland. So it has been in that way in the beginning, and then I move from there. Yeah.
Maybe we should start holding this one. That was really fun. I remember from the last Boost Your Future event, one of the panelists was saying, find your inner compass. And I thought it was really beautiful, and just this idea of first finding inside of yourself, what do I want? What am I okay with? What are my boundaries? Where do I want to go? And then from that, navigating to the world. So this was touched on briefly, but let's talk about intersections. How can artists from different disciplines collaborate and take advantage of their multidisciplinary passions together?
I start. Yes. Well, what I've been doing, not now, but a few years ago, was collaborations. I was in love with this idea of mixing things. I call it trinities. So we started with a friend who does movement. He's a dance teacher. And it's a movement. And another friend does music, and I do the drawings. So we chose a personal development topic. People went from kind of station to station with different senses, like movement, drawing, and music. And then I did the same, but only with two people. We combined drumming and comics, and then also meditation comics, and then what else? And a little bit of theater and comics. So yeah, that's my experience with collaboration. What I could say from my learning experience is that maybe the challenge is that it can get messy. It's very difficult to make sense out of too many topics. So I aim to give some purpose. So it's not just mixing for mixing, but to make a sense of that. Mixing senses or different arts like music and all.
Well, coming from the visual arts, I think typically, not totally, but typically we are individual creators, and one person shows, and we try and tackle every single thing within the job of being an artist. And I think rather than maybe jumping to other disciplines firstly, I think you should work with other visual artists and start expanding the collaborations, not necessarily on your creative outputs. It's not about collaboration, about making art together, but actually thinking about the facilities or the resources that you have, or the information exchange, knowledge exchange that can happen. And so small trusted peer groups to work together, not on the creative outputs, but on the kind of support structure around creative outputs is really, really essential. So if that means sharing a studio space because you can't afford the rent yourself, and navigating somehow the timeline and the time frame for those things, or purchasing a large, expensive piece of equipment in order for many people to work together. And then when you're in the habit of collaboration and trust with each other, that's when maybe it's a good time to kind of leap and trust a producer, and just trusting maybe conversations with people outside of the field and discipline, and finding, ways to communicate, ways to work together.
Yeah, it's really interesting. When I was thinking this question a bit in advance, I only got some new questions in my head. To be honest, when we talk about, for example, production, we producers are also living in bubbles. That there is a theater producers, there's dance producers, there's music live music producers. So we are kind of like segmented. And there was a really interesting event last spring called Tuottaja Utopia, so production utopia, where we talked about artistic production collaboration, and where I kind of understood that producers as a general term is not like a one thing, it's several different things, and we also are segmented from each other. But I was somehow thinking about like the interdisciplinary collaboration, that what is the result, what is the release, what is the outcome that we want out of it. So maybe in that way, if we look it from that perspective, we can think, is it an event, is it a release, is it a discussion? So what do we want to achieve, and then maybe think about the collaboration or cooperation. But I think everything starts with your like-minded peers, that you need the networks. And it was nicely how you put that the art scene or the art scenes sectors are also really different and diverse. That, for example, visual arts, it's more artist-based than, for example, than theater, that there is already structures which diverse. But yeah, really interesting question.
Yeah, much has been said. I think for me, from my perspective, it has to happen organically. It's really difficult to force a collaboration, and most probably then it won't work out, or it's going to be just really, really challenging, and that's not always necessary. Conflict is welcomed. I had something on my mind I wanted to say. I think space is very important to have. Like, where do you meet people you want to collaborate with, and how come a collaboration happens? I think it's great if it can happen out of desire and need, and that in that sense, then you work together and you coordinate and orientate together with the information you provide for each other. And like being here, I've been very busy within the program itself, and I had very little time to actually enter the Helsinki scene, not the Finnish scene, but the Helsinki scene. And yeah, where are spaces where artists actually meet? How do you, okay, I would go for an opening, but also within the program there was very little time, and I guess one needs to find time or make the time for that to go out. And there has to be interest, like it has to be reciprocated. It's not that I decide I'm gonna collaborate and I'm gonna pick artists that I like their work, but there has to come to the point where crossings happens, and then that has to be addressed, and then there has to be physical space for it. There has to be finance for it, because the energy is limited. Yeah, so intersection is challenging, but can be fruitful. Yeah.
Definitely. My next question, which we've already touched on as well, what kind of support mechanisms or networks have you found that help you balance your artistic pursuits, well-being, and finances? For example, associations, institutions, personal networking groups, even extracurricular activities.
Well, I think I slightly cheat in this way because I am a lecturer here at KUVA, and I've always gravitated towards needing some sort of security, settled salary to pay my rent. I've never been comfortable or the creative juices do not flow when I am thinking 100% of how do I pay my bills. And so for me, I needed to, you know, kind of find stability, and stability was found through being a technician, being a lecturer, being part-time, whatever. And that suited me and suits me, and I know that that's the way I can operate best. So it's maybe a bit cheeky of me, or I'm not I'm not full-time as an artist. I can't be, and so the precarity that many people in the field feel, I don't, because I have the security of a permanent job. But having said that, I found when I first arrived in Finland that associations are quite big here for visual arts. They're quite important, and they offer a lot of information and maybe kind of medium-specific kind of guidelines. Catalysti were here as well, and I think they were, you know, another organization that I gravitated to because I wasn't Finnish. But medium-specific ones are really interesting and important as well. And Kippalytta is my association that I'm part of, and they are a great family, I would say, community, because that field, photography, moving image, lens-based, also has its own little weird quirks that outside of the visual arts. Other, you know, it's weird. You say they're just kind of different kind of energies and conversations happening. And when I first arrived, there was this EU-funded portfolio review held by the Museum of Photography. And actually there's one open right now, so if that's your medium, look at the Museum of Photography's website, because it's a portfolio review, which might feel like it's a very kind of emerging or establishing artist kind of activity to do. But actually, because I was new to this scene, I felt it was really an important kind of thing to just have a conversation with some people that were here. And from it, I got a lot of things from it, actually, an exhibition in Madrid and part of a publication, and I also found some people that I would like to gravitate and work with in the future. So those kind of things that are happening, finding those informations, I do it as a job here to find those things, but it's all social media, I would say. Following organizations, actively following them on social media is the only way you find out about information. It was different 5 years ago, it'd probably be different again in another 10, 5-10 years. So being agile with where is the information and how do you find it?
Yeah, I actually resonate with you about the stability. I call it the baseline. So I was kind of officially full-time entrepreneur, I guess 2 years. And it was the best and the worst. Like total freedom and total craziness, like lack of everything, no balls, too much freedom. I was traveling a lot, I was doing everything, designing, painting, all my coaching and art creations. But yeah, it's a process of self-discovery. So as a former architect, I have like, half of me is stable as an engineer, and the other half is crazy as an artist. So I have both universes. But now I cannot explore the total freedom, and it didn't work. And now I have another job to pay bills, which I didn't want, but thanks to my psychologist, they said, okay, I need to pay bills anyway, so I'm gonna visa also. But ironically, then once you cover the baseline, now you can give without neediness, because you anyway need to pay bills. So without that need, then it's easier mentally. So you are, from the well-being perspective, you are mentally free and you can produce, Then it's about time and so on. But yeah, institutions, well, I already talked about, I got these 3 grants of startup grants and then a COVID grant. Yeah, and that was kind of the longest that I could. But I think the problem with the grants, unless you get maybe these 2 years, which is like getting a job basically, is that they are like time-based. So it's not long enough. You know, by the time the grant expires, actually before you need to start hunting a new grant. So yeah, so well, like it's how you feel also, what works for you, and what is your baseline. But it's worth trying, worth exploring. But from my perspective, I think the best is to have a solid baseline, and then have the mental freedom to create any artistic project that you want.
Well, I came here with savings, and I worked in a restaurant before being able to study here. And that worked for a while, maybe for a year. Then I received COVID grant by Taike. I applied, and that open call I got from a friend of mine I mentioned earlier, Emma Johansson. So I think for me, it's my close peers are a big help and support. Also within the labs program, we got a lot of information on grants. Where else? I now also work at a restaurant to be parallel with my thesis work, to be able to do everything else that I like, and I am constantly applying to open calls and grants, but these are not 100% sure, so I need to have work that I know will guarantee, will bring me money, and I will be able to pay the rent and bills. So that's quite tricky. My family supports me when I enter the space where it's, I need bandages. They're here always to help me, and I really appreciate that. And then I run out. It's art field works this way, that I work now a free job, which is applying for grants and writing project applications, to possibly potentially in the future have that money. So it's also, I didn't figure it out how to work best with time management and energy management to be able on a long term to have money and stress less as well, because that eats, can eat one way.
Yeah, I don't know how much more I have to add, but I think that when you find your own interest group somehow, like-minded people, is it feminism or animals or like plant-based eating, whatever is kind of like your thing, like your call, you will find people around you and feel maybe psychologically a bit more safe. But I've also myself had some kind of job or some other support structure, so in that way I have been covered so far. Let's see in the future, I don't know. Freelancer is also a type of work or possibility. And as I earlier already said, that for me, association-based activities have been also something that I get content to my life and also perspective. So, and this is also maybe from this like originally Finland-based person, that put yourself out there and justify the need to different organizations, that you need me, you need us, you need this other perspective, that their like the activities could be more inclusive, like language-wise, and somehow like maybe like the organizations do not yet understand what they are missing and what they are doing wrong. So somehow like this pointing out that, hey, you need us, you need to think also a bit wider. So maybe that's something to like contact the organizations as well.
Really good. I think my next question is really difficult, just to give you a warning. So in terms of institutions, movements, or trends, where do you think we should be looking at in the near future? What's going to happen in the future? Well, I'm not a professional, but I can say something. Yeah, this is a hard question. Somehow, I believe in citizenship activism, that we need to demand. We have organizations, public organizations, which not always are ahead of things. So sometimes we need to put the pressure ourselves, and when we demand, they need to act. I was working for the city of Helsinki, which is one of the biggest organizations in Finland, and it's not a quick organization. But if there is a counter force asking, demanding, then they need to act. So as I was, for example, a nighttime promoter, that nighttime is, so if people don't, or if people only give feedback, like negative feedback, then this is the way how things are. But what if people start to put positive feedback on nighttime activities, that, wow, it was such amazing thing, that it was like middle of the night and I've heard some music, wow, like this kind of like activism of demand. And I guess that also these short-term temporary groups are there now, that people are not maybe happy to make long-term engagements, but a bit more short-term and these kind of things. So yeah, this came up to my mind.
I think within my role as a lecturer in the professional skills for visual artists, I've become a lot more brave to ask organizations and institutions and directors to come and talk to our students. And so I would have found that very impossible for myself, but because I'm doing it on behalf of a group of people, I feel very emboldened and brave. And actually, what I have discovered is that they are more than happy to talk to us, that they're more than happy to hear, that there's a little bit of a distance between maybe the institutions that we want to work with and us individuals. And I think finding appropriate ways to approach and to connect with everybody who's working in the field, I think it's highlighted that we're all in it together, and maybe less complaining about what's wrong, I totally agree, and more supporting what's really good. There are some amazing advocacy groups as well, and I think the Finnish Artists Association is doing brilliantly on advocating on our behalf, because I think there's trouble ahead in terms of politics and money and funds, and if we're not standing together or maybe discussing the minutiae of difference between us, and that's why we can't work together, that I think we have to kind of find what we are willing to kind of move forward with and what's positive and what is working, and going yes to these things and demand that they remain and stay supported, and why. It might help the field, perhaps.
Well, okay. Yes, well, I'm going to complement with a different angle. This is very niche about the future. I think the future is going to the past. There is these evolutionary theories. So, you know, we have internet and technology, and we're still stressed, not connected. You can work at home, but then you feel alone. So we still need human connection. We have elevators, cars, and there is obesity and so on. People don't walk enough. We can all check this in the stats online. Everything is there. So there are many movements about, for example, meditation and so on. So because I in the field of arts and well-being and personal development. For example, when I've been like the most recurrent positive feedback of my workshops is being like, well, just by drawing with my hand and doing these simple drawings, comics, that's well-being itself. Because we, even me as an artist in quotes, we don't kind of draw so much. You can use Photoshop or whatever. So I think the future is going to be, in my opinion, and it's my hope, my wish, is to use art as a tool to nurture our human nature, which is to walk, to dance, to move, to draw, to use the hand. And of course, technology is useful. That will be there forever. But, you know, also kids or we as an adults, then we have the mobile and it's too much distraction. So then you have like a workshop or retreat to stop using internet. It's a little bit silly, right? You know, but you have to go and move yourself 2 hours without internet just to be in peace. Well, in Finland it's easier, you can go to the forest. It's a little bit more like a habit. But yeah, I think the future, like, I would like to see more purposeful art, like people explore art more and use a little bit less technology.
I will continue on that note of being social and coming together and working collectively and supporting each other. I think there is a lack of social spaces where we come together that are not an exhibition or an opening or a seminar, but that is just like a casual living room. And I think that's something I would wish for Helsinki and other cities as well to have, like where you can encounter spontaneously someone and go there whenever you have time and then randomly meet someone else that happens to be there at the time and then come to a conversation or create something together in a relaxed way or manner. And I think in that way also topics that are relevant, it's easier for them to come to the surface because it's, I would say a relaxed environment and it goes heart to heart, and I wish there would be more heart conversations and open, and I think for that a space is needed, that it's not directed towards production or end results, but it's for here and now. Yes.
Super great. We have a last little bit of time for audience questions, so please be brave. This is your opportunity. If you have a question, raise your hand. Okay, I will ask a question then. But please, like, if you have a question, it's more important than mine. I'm wondering, like, what's your own direction for where you're going in your future art career? What would you like to learn? What would you like to be next? Yeah.
Well, now I'm taking a step back, and the idea is to learn, finally finish this year number 9, the story of everyone that happened to me, but I'm really happy. So professional-wise, just to learn the language, it's going to take a few years. I will take it as a master's degree, a couple of years, and then I will just let the life open doors. I have no idea, I don't want to think too much. I have a lot of plans, but I want to just focus on the language and continue my side projects in coaching and so on. But yeah, the language is a big thing. Like my dream could be like to work using the language. That could be like a 10-year plan, you know? So let's see.
I feel I'm so in the moment with my job, week to week, day to day. I'm also a mom, and my kid is over there because I have childcare issues right now. So I think there's a lot of reasons why I can't look up and look into the distance. And that can happen to many people for many reasons. Having said that, I think I should more. And I think I
will leave my job when I feel like I'm no longer a use, and it's not interesting me, and I'm not a use for the students. And then the path is wide. I'm also a student myself, and so I have to find more time to kind of complete those kind of studies. So that's me. Motherhood, child, multiple roles will evolve and change. Yeah.
Thank you. I can also feel that. Nowadays, I'm doing my master's thesis, and I'm looking into advocacy, culture and art advocacy, and I have questions that why we have art and culture as a general big topic, and then these segments, and why do we do not do that much cooperation between different sectors? That why we are so, of course the structures are different and blah blah blah, but I would love to somehow increase dialogue between different art sectors. I don't know if that is my future, but I hope that I can put my finger in that dialogue somehow.
Yeah, now that you mentioned again the cross-disciplinary work, I remember again that I had a collaboration recently with a fashion designer, and it was really fantastic to also awaken something that was sleeping in me for a while, because I had direction elsewhere towards more social work, and I was going somewhere. My brain is working really funky because I'm in the midst of writing my thesis, so it's a different room in there, and it operates differently. Yeah, but future, I guess I will continue in how dress affects us and how we are seen through the way we dress and how we are represented through that. Then there is also the experience of the wearer, which can be different from how others perceive us, and that sometimes clashes, sometimes comes together, but I find it very interesting and also liberating to see all these different aspects that garments bring to the visual world. And I will most probably do an internship in Vienna next year. So let's see what happens there.
All the best to y'all and all the best to everybody. Can I get a last round of applause for this panel?